slow, fake woke, facts don't care about feelings.
Doom Nation, what's up? We are back here. It's the Shack in the Back with Skaggs and your captain as always. We got a special guest for a special episode. Danny, you want to tell them what the episode's about today?
Yeah, so this is our 50th episode, and it's actually been a year that we've been doing the show. So we are going to change it up a little bit. We're going to, me and Cap decided to look back at some of our past episodes. Danny was on actually the second episode that we ever recorded. And we're going to talk about stuff that we kind of talked about on that episode and then relate it to things that are going on in current day issues, which they are relatable. And we called a lot of stuff too.
Basically everything we predicted. So yes, as always, this is Two Doom Men. Thank you guys for joining in as always. The numbers are up, guys. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Keep it, let's keep it going. We're gaining a little bit of traction. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. It's episode 50. So we took a walk down memory lane and listened to some of our older shows. You got one that you want to start with? Or?
Yeah, we'll start with episode 2, which Danny, you were a part of. Which, by the way, I love the hair. Thanks, I wanted Danny to be on just especially because of the Jared Leto Joker hair that he's styling.
I saw you Friday, and I forgot that you even had the hair color.
To be honest, sometimes I even forget it's this color. I just got used to having normal people.
I feel like it got bluer, and it was a lot more green on
that
Friday.
was when I had purple and like 2 other colors.
Okay, it was a lot more
shorter hair, all that stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot more, jokery on the weekend, which was appropriate because we were at the bar and we kicked a whole bunch of people out, kind of.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I'm in the electric trade, so I could get away with it now. Longer hair, color, just might as well have fun with it.
Are you gonna let the hair grow back to?
I'm living. I am.
That's great.
Thanks, brother. I am.
Back to when you were 21. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
For that.
All right, so we'll start with my episode.
Episode 2.
Episode 2 was called Iowa Coronas that we had, and we spoke about the Iowa Caucus which was part of which was actually the first contest in the Democratic primary for president. And in the episode, we talked about how the caucus was basically stolen from Bernie, if you remember. And we also talked about how in 2016 the primary was really rigged against Bernie. And it seemed like they were doing the same thing again in 2020. And with the first contest of the Democratic primary, it's there was an issue with the with the program that was counting the votes in the caucus, and the program was called Shadow, of course. Dominion, Shadow, all this.
I mean, of course, there was issues. It was someone people liked.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, right.
There was also, one of the episodes, we'll get into it more, but we played a clip on, I think it's called Creepy Joe, where there was actual, CNN footage of, a primary in, a certain state. I think it was Mississippi. And they were like, all right, and the winner of the primary for tonight is, and, a picture of, Bernie Sanders pops up. And then, and the guy's like, Bernie Sanders. And he stops talking, and then the screen goes dark, and then Joe Biden pops up, and he's like, it's definitely not Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden is the victor tonight. Right? You could play it back constantly, and, you could see, it just turned off the TV and turned back on, and it was Joe Biden. And nobody questioned it. We all just let it go. And then here we are a few months later, November, look what happens.
It's like WandaVision, just like the government just fixes it and everybody just goes along with it.
Yeah, they had Wanda in the back just to change the she recasted or whatever.
She edited reality.
So let me rehash exactly what happened on the Iowa caucus again, and then I'll go into how it plays into things going on nowadays. So, like I said, the Iowa caucus introduced this new program called Shadow to count the voting, and an issue occurred with the app. And the official winner couldn't be declared for days later, if you remember.
There's still hope for Kansas City.
Although the night of, Pete Buttigieg, he declared himself the winner. Although there was an issue, he still declared himself the winner. Days later, Buttigieg was officially named the winner, and after all the recounts and everything that happened afterward, it turned out that Bernie was actually the winner. And he won the popular vote, although somehow even though he won the popular vote, he still didn't get more
the
delegates than Buttigieg because, you know, the DNC, that's how they play the game. And the point I'm trying to make here is that the DNC, the Democratic Party, their establishment, they're corrupt. They've done this. They have rigged the primaries basically against Bernie 2 times in a row. They have a history of doing such things.
How
like
he
that.
stays quiet about it is beyond me. He has the base. He has the following. If he speaks, people will talk.
I agree.
And he stayed quiet about it.
That was my biggest beef with him.
Especially now with his like famous meme, like
that meme is gold.
Yeah,
don't you talk about.
He gained popularity.
Yeah.
From
I gotta
the meme.
show you this one that I found recently.
Send it to me. I'll post it up on the YouTube. But my point is that they've played the DNC has played meddling games in the election before in 2016, in 2020 against Bernie. They put their thumb on the scale. If you remember, one of the debates between Hillary and Bernie, they gave Hillary the questions ahead of time. The chairman of the DNC, Donna Brazile, she gave Hillary the
all for move the goalpost.
The media, everybody has always been working in lockstep with the DNC, you know? And I mentioned in the second episode that the media was lockstep with the establishment and they used whatever tactics necessary to stop Bernie. And you said, actually, welcome to Trump world 2016. This is where the same nonsense that happened and their powers, and they're using their powers that be to influence everything.
Yeah. And then when 2020 came around, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
We have evidence. We actually have evidence.
This is what I'm leading into, right? So, okay, just let me preface what I'm going to say here with I don't believe that the election was actually rigged enough to be stolen from Joe Biden. I believe that he won, although there hasn't been enough of like a forensic analysis of it. But
Jeffrey's definitely
just my
some
guess.
tampering of the sort.
That's just my guess.
I think
right?
we should be allowed to question it.
Right.
But in actuality, in the position we all sit in right now, in the position that the people who are listening sit in right now, except for, you know, like the NSA and FBI agents who watch us, but we have seen no proof that it was or it wasn't rigged. You know what I mean? So we could talk all we want. There's no evidence, and so you know what I mean. Like nothing's come out. People have said they have evidence, and they don't present that evidence. And
my point with this whole thing is a lot of people have said, well, there's absolutely no proof. You know, this is unheard of, never happened before. There's no way that the election against Trump was stolen. I just gave you 2 instances and 2 years of how the DNC meddled in elections and stole them from somebody. It wasn't Trump. They stole them from Bernie both times. So there's a bit of a precedent that has been set by the DNC for meddling in elections. For all they talk about Russia meddling, no. The DNC has meddled more in elections than Russia. So I'm going to read. This is going to be pretty long. So if you guys want to say anything else before I get into this, I'm going to read verbatim this entire article from Time Magazine. And I know it's a lot, but this has to be read because people don't see this shit.
right,
They don't. So I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it after. So if you want to
maybe
say
raise your hand, like so they know to fast forward to like the important
yeah.
shit.
No, you should listen to this. So what happened was an article came out in Time Magazine on February 4th, and it's by Molly Ball.
Wait, hold on. Why don't you tell them what this potentially proves so they want to sit through and listen?
Essentially, this article is explaining how the election was rigged against Trump, but they're not calling it rigged. They're calling it was fortified. And I'm going to read you the whole article, and you'll make your own judgments on what it says.
Yeah, we're not telling you what to believe.
Yeah,
You think for yourself.
I'm not. I'm just going to read it. and
Because
you make
this
your
is
own decision.
America.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could think freely.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't want people to think freely anymore. They just want to tell you what to believe. So, a weird thing happened the night after the November 3rd election. Nothing. The nation was braced for chaos. Liberal groups had vowed to take the streets, planning hundreds of protests across the country. Right-wing militias were girding for battle. In a poll before Election Day, 75% of Americans voiced concern about violence. Instead, an eerie quiet descended. As President Trump refused to concede, the response was not mass action but crickets. When media organizations called the race for Joe Biden on November 7th, jubilation broke out instead, as people thronged cities across the United States to celebrate the democratic process that resulted in Trump's ouster. they were also gathering in large groups,
Yeah.
contradicting their COVID,
There's
virtue
literally
signaling.
posts all over Twitter right now of tweets from the day Biden announced his
posted one.
victory to when the Bucks just won the Super Bowl. People partying like Florida's going to kill us all. Thank God Biden's president. Let's all get together. Like
Hypocrisy, dude.
Yeah.
Hypocrisy.
Yep, New York City, just people no masks.
Yep.
Some did wear masks and everything, so good
When Biden
thumbs
won.
up to those people.
Yep. So a second odd thing happened amid Trump's attempts to reverse the result. Corporate America turned on him. Hundreds of major businesses leaders, many of whom had backed Trump's candidacy and supported his policies, called on him to concede. To the president, something felt amiss. It was all very, very strange, Trump said on December 2nd. Within days after the election, we witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint the winner, even while many key states were still being counted. In a way, Trump was right. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that had curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. The pact was formalized in a terse, little-noticed joint statement of the United States Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO published on Election Day. Can you give me some water, please? Yeah. It's in the fridge there. Sorry, this is a lot to read.
So it just so happened that corporate America and the left-wing Democrats decided to work together all of a sudden. There was no coup involved.
Not done yet.
There was no coup involved. They just saw the similar thing they wanted. Okay.
Also, Danny, if you want one of these big-ass beer glasses, they're right at the on the door.
Or
gonna have some
it's
whiskey out of it.
episode 50. There will be bourbon.
There will be.
That's exactly what I'm waiting for.
Once we're done reading this, we will reward ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Both sides would come to see it as a sort of implicit bargain, inspired by the summer's massive, sometimes destructive racial justice protests, in which the forces of labor came together with the forces of capital to keep the peace and oppose Trump's assault on democracy.
Keep the peace.
The handshake between business and labor was just one component of the vast cross-partisan campaign to protect the election, an extraordinary shadow effort dedicated not to winning the vote, but to ensuring it would be free and fair, credible and uncorrupted. For more than a year, a loosely organized coalition of operatives scrambled to shore up America's institutions as they came under simultaneous attack from the remorseless pandemic and an autocratically inclined president. Though much of this activity took place on the left, it was separate from the Biden campaign and crossed ideological lines, with crucial contributions by nonpartisan and conservative actors. The scenario the shadow campaigners were desperate to stop was not a Trump victory. It was an election so calamitous that no result could be discerned at all, a failure of the central act of democratic self-government that has been a hallmark of America since its founding. So time out. They're spinning it as they're saving the election. They're saving it.
Trump is so crazy that
It's calamity.
we need to save the election from corruption by becoming corrupt and corrupting the process.
But they're not painting it that way.
No, because
They're painting it
because
as they're
two-
saving it from calamity. Yeah.
So there was a line in there that they said it benefited both corporate America that was, stricken by the pandemic. Literally, the DNC went to these corporations, were like, you guys are hurting because of COVID this year, right? And they're like, yeah, okay, you make sure Biden gets in the office, COVID's going to go bye-bye, and your business is going to just like we've been seeing, just like,
Lately,
and, I'm not even talking out of my ass. There's a 40% drop-off in America. The testing is completely changed. All the big cities are starting to reopen. Biden's been in office for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
The numbers haven't gotten any better. When California said they were going to reopen, it was like one of the highest days that people were admitted to the ICU. It's all out there. It's all real. It just
I'm not going to need Captain Conspiracy to say this stuff because when I get to the end of this article, you're going to be shocked at what they
Go
write.
for it.
And they're going to. And Time Magazine, by the way, is very, like you were saying, it was very
They're very
left,
blue,
Democratic,
all that,
blue,
yeah.
liberal.
So-
you ever see the comparisons of all the Trump covers versus all the Obama covers?
I can only imagine. dude.
It's Trump's always on fire with the horns and like the world's gonna burn, and Obama's like floating through clouds and shit like he's Jesus. It's ridiculous.
It's immediate, man. All right, so let me continue here. There's a little bit left to go. Their work touched every aspect of the election. They got states to change voting systems and laws and helped secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. They fended off voter suppression lawsuits, recruited armies of poll workers, and got millions of people to vote by mail for the first time. They successfully pressured social media companies to take a harder line against disinformation and use data-driven strategies to fight viral smears. They're saying that they just played a social media campaign. Smears? You mean other people expressing their opinions?
But nobody could do it against them.
Right.
That's how the advertising world works.
Yeah.
You could make a smear campaign against someone, but that person can come back at you.
Basically.
No, 100%. That's the whole idea of it.
Yep.
They
And it has to be
executed.
fact checked.
Sorry. Yeah, everything has to be fact checked now. They executed national public awareness campaigns that helped Americans understand how the vote would count and unfold over days or weeks, preventing Trump's conspiracy theories and false claims of victory from getting more traction. After Election Day, they monitored every pressure point to ensure that Trump could not overturn the result. The untold story of the election is the thousands of people of both parties who accomplished a triumph of American democracy at its very foundation. Sorry. Says Norm Eisen, a prominent lawyer and former Obama, and of course, a former Obama administration official. So, you know, a former Obama administration official is hailing these people's work as saving the election. He's not biased. All right, let's move along. For Trump and his allies were running their own campaign to spoil the election. The president spent months insisting that mail ballots were a Democratic plot and the election would be rigged. His henchmen at the state level sought to block their use, while his lawyers brought dozens of spurious suits to make it more difficult to vote, an intensification of the GOP's legacy of suppressive tactics. Before the election, Trump plotted to block a legitimate vote count, and he spent the months following November 3rd trying to steal the election he'd lost with lawsuits and conspiracy theories, pressure on state and local officials, and finally summoning his army of supporters to the January 6th rally that ended in deadly violence. The democracy campaigners watched with alarm. Every week, they watched with alarm. They watched with alarm. What? That doesn't even make any sense. They watch with alarm. This is stuff that's happening after the election already
just
happened.
anything Trump does is alarming.
It's weird, right? Because they're saying that he brought the crowd on January 6th, and then he's saying the democracy campaigners watch with alarm. But the election was already over, so these campaigners to manage the election's over.
Yeah, well,
You know what I mean? That kind of contradicts itself there.
whatever. If he was to go like this, it would be an alarming move. It's they don't really care. They just want you to be fearful of him.
All right. I'm going to skip this.
Start snowing again.
Nice.
Oh my!
It's been nothing.
And
but
I don't
snow
have
lately.
my truck.
You'll
So
be
awesome.
you'll survive. Don't worry. Let me skip ahead to the last two paragraphs. Right. This is the inside story of the conspiracy to save the 2020 election, based on access to the group's inner workings, never before seen documents, and interviews with dozens of those involved from across the political spectrum. It is the story of an unprecedented, creative, and determined campaign whose success also reveals how close the nation came to disaster. Every attempt to interfere with the proper outcome of the election was defeated, says Ian Basin, a co-founder of Project Democracy, blah, blah, blah. But it's massively important for the country to understand that it didn't happen accidentally. The system didn't work magically. Democracy is not self-executing. And here is the most important part of this entire article. It goes on to say, that's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told. They want it told now. Even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream, a well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies, working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. They were not rigging the election, they were fortifying it. And they believe the public needs to understand the system's fragility in order to ensure that democracy in America endures. I'm going to close this now.
One thing straight up, Q doesn't need to be real. Whatever your perception of all the Q bullshit is, if you wanted to listen to it or not, that's fine. It doesn't matter that that doesn't exist. But what they've always been talking about was said just right there.
Right.
There is this outside shadow source that sways reality to what they need it to be.
Yeah. You read the article. What'd you think?
Honestly, like I said, like it's clearly rigged. Like they admitted it, and it's just like they said it. They changed the wording, made it sound all like pretty, like not so bad or whatever. But like, if we just say to anybody, "Oh, it was rigged," and then they just get all defensive and just like, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter," like, "Oh, some random
Yeah,
bullshit."
hate speech.
But it's just like Time, bro. Time magazine. Like people
Yeah.
read that shit. They're blue.
What
Like,
they're-
they
what-
even say it.
What they're trying to do, to be honest, is how can I? They believe that it is so, they are so manipulative at this point that they could tell us the truth that they manipulated or fortified an election and just have them look like they're the good guys. You're like, so I know this is so
it worked.
stupid to bring it to it, but like the Cobra Kai series on Netflix, bro. I know it's stupid, but listen, you
still
get a
gotta
point of
watch
view
that, to
from
be
Go ahead.
honest.
Make
you
your
get a
point.
point of view from both sides now, all these years later, and you saw the movie and you thought, Johnny or whatever was always the dick. But then when you get to know Johnny and from his perspective, Danny was the dick. Like, so we're going to see it from this point of view. We're only going to see it from the one point of view that Trump was so crazy and so bad for the country that a shadow government formed behind the scenes and manipulated things to make sure Joe Biden got into office because we needed to save America from Trump. Like he's the ultimate villain, and we had to come together. This is
Yeah.
like the Avengers coming together to get rid of an evil entity.
It's
Basically, the Neg Avengers.
Yeah,
it's interesting timing.
let's get that bourbon.
Yeah, cracked out. It's in the freezer in the
Best thing you said tonight.
It's interesting timing, right? Why would Time Magazine come out with an article like this right now? It seems like maybe, they especially with the impeachment going on, it's almost like they want to kind of come out and say, you know what, we did a little bit meddle with the election, and you know what, we did it because for the right reasons, and they want to put aside
They're virtue signaling.
They want to put aside the rigged.
Yeah.
They want to call it, fortifying. They want to give a
They have
politically
to-
correct term to rigging. And
Grab the other two glasses. You know what they also have to do? There is enough people asking why this happened. Like there is a lot of people. Like I think they grossly underestimated how many people were going to actually question this process and shit like that. And I think that they came to a conclusion that they're like, we need to spin this in our favor
Yes.
to give them something so we don't lose everybody.
You just put my thoughts perfectly
Yeah.
into words. I think that's what it is because the timing is very
Yeah.
suspect, right? Why would this article, and if someone wants to say, well, it's just one article by one Time Magazine person. I mean, the article itself says that they work together with media and the forces that be. They put out ideas into the public, into circulation through the media, through journalists, etc. So you can't just tell me that this is just one article. Doesn't mean anything. It's only the one author's opinion. The article itself says that that's not how it works. That they put shit out like that.
We've always talked about perspective and people's point of views, and this is a perfect example. We're only officially going.
There's snow on the bottom of this.
That's how cold it's been, people. We're only officially getting one viewpoint of the story. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I always do that.
Yeah, Captain always bumps his mic.
That's how you know it's a good episode.
So yeah, man.
Be a weird one. without
Again,
it.
my personal opinion is that
At the top.
I don't think that there was enough meddling to actually overturn the election. I think Trump made enough enemies that enough people came out to vote against him and make him lose. But at the same time, that's just my opinion. I don't fucking know.
It's still corrupt to me, but so now that we went over this, it's actually a good segue into what I went over through down memory lane. So what are we doing?
No, I'm just trying to
My
turn it right
bad.
up. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So when Hillary lost and Trump won, I said it years ago that Joe Biden is next in line in the establishment, and I predicted a long time ago that he was going to be who ran against Trump in 2020. And obviously that happened. So now, okay, the election was fine and fair, whatever, what we just read. Joe Biden's the president now. we need to start talking about Biden. We always
We have been.
we talked about him in the past. So I got my
Real quick, new drink. Cheers.
Yes.
This is Bullet Bourbon, and actually, we did a new Doomed review. It'll be out some point later next week of hazy. What is it?
Oh, it was a
Sam
wacky
Adams.
hazy IPA
Yeah,
from
Sam
Sam
Adams.
Adams.
Nice. So there you go.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Cheers, Sam
Cheers.
Adams and Bullet.
And Bullet.
All right, so
Classic
the two episodes I went over were I believe what was it? I Believe You Too, Joe Biden, and Creepy Joe.
What episode numbers were those?
I don't know.
7, I think. And
Episode
9?
7 was Creepy Joe.
And 9 was.
I don't. That might have been it. I think that was right when we started first doing YouTube, probably.
One thing, dude, I also because me and Chris actually went back and re-listened to these
Yeah.
episodes. Boy, we got a lot better over time. Like in terms of conversation, production. The second episode, I could barely hear us.
Yeah, we
for whatever reason.
One of the episodes I went on that I re-listened to, we like stayed on topic for like 5 seconds, and like
Yeah.
the end of the episode, we got back on topic, and it was just all awry.
The one that you're about to talk about was the first episode where we actually decided to start putting work in before we got to the episode and write notes of things to
Yep.
talk about because we mentioned it. So that was a plus. That's probably has something to do with the quality improvement.
All right, so I'm not even gonna go through the Flynn stuff because it's
I
redundant.
thought, you made, but there's a good point in there that I made. That was the only point I made in your notes.
Where with
Flynn.
this thing?
Yeah.
So, Mueller and the FBI committed perjury over the General Flynn. No one has been arrested since then. Is this your point with the bullet right next to it?
Yeah. So let me explain it because I remember the point in this episode, which was I think episode 7, right? You're
It
talking
was
about
May 7th. You still had COVID. We were doing.
Yes. Chris made the point that General Flynn was being persecuted basically by, like unfairly persecuted for lying under oath
They framed a 3-star general.
and framing him, saying that before Trump became president, Flynn was working behind the scenes to negotiate policy with Russia, General Flynn. Right? When I heard that in this episode, I remembered, wait a minute. What did I write there?
We mentioned how Flynn was accused of having conversations with Russia regarding policy before Trump was inaugurated. After Biden won the election, Republicans and Trump allies have taken issue with Biden speaking to foreign leaders following his victory over President Donald Trump last week. Specifically, they have raged over former Obama Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes, saying the president-elect is already having phone calls with leaders to discuss the agenda they're going to pursue in the Biden administration.
So let's get this straight. When I heard what you said in that old
Yeah.
episode,
More evidence.
I remembered this thing about Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes is doing the exact same thing that Michael Flynn was doing when Trump won. But because it's a Biden, a Democrat,
They're the
a
heroes
Ben
for doing
Rhodes,
this.
no. It's not even that he's the heroes. It's that it's not an issue.
Yeah.
It's nothing. There's no big deal.
For the people who have been listening to us for a long period of time, we're not experts in this. We're not,
Far from it.
Yeah. There's nothing special about what we come up with. But it's amazing that we just came across this, that we are showing evidence that it's one way for one person and another for
Yeah.
we might have sounded crazy, but we are presenting you with evidence that you can
I've
go
come
back.
to learn that I spend most of the time on the show just pointing out hypocrites and
Yeah.
hypocrisy. I'm the liberal, but I'm defending the conservatives.
Yeah.
90% of the time, because the liberals, the Democrats, are just being hypocrites about everything. And I want to always kind of stand for the truth as opposed to tugging a line or towing a line or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
So something from one of the episodes back then, it was May. This was back in May. The election wasn't around the corner just yet. Biden had 6 to 8 sexual assault cases. Her name, the big one, was Tara Reid.
I remember.
All right. Her mother in '94 was on Larry King, and there is an actual video evidence of her saying that my daughter was sexually assaulted by a prominent politician, talking about Joe Biden. If you go back and look at Larry King's episodes, if it was episode like 95 on YouTube or whatever, it goes 94, then episode 96. They just deleted it. This is something that actually happened, and this man is our president right now.
And people are saying how much they love him and everything, but oh my god, Trump's fucking predator, blah blah blah, touches women. But it's like, you're president, you love,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right, had similar accusations against him.
not like I'm defending Trump or
We,
anything, but I
we
mean,
brought
like,
up in some
they're
of the
both wrong.
yeah, we brought up in some of the old episodes that Trump paid Stormy Daniels. Okay, what people don't understand is like, yes, Trump paid, and this is horrible, and he should have never done it to begin with, but he paid Stormy Daniels. They decided out of court to end this lawsuit. You know what I mean? The lawsuit was squashed. It's over. They're still persecuting him over something that they agreed to end outside of court. You know what I mean? Like, she could have pursued, him getting arrested or something, but she didn't. She settled outside of court.
Yeah, she got paid. She got her money.
Yeah.
Good for her.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, there's,
mean-
people will still bring up, like, Stormy
Yeah.
Daniels, like, she could have brought him to justice and got him arrested.
But
she settled.
that
like,
whole. I don't know, I'm not like a Stormy Daniels expert, but what was the didn't he pay to sleep with her basically? And
yeah, but she sued him for it.
For what?
That I guess sexually assaulting her. or
no,
whatever.
I don't think that's what it was. I think it has to do like defamation or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But there's
not
always
sure.
a
We could
story.
Google it.
There's always
Can't
a
remember
story
exactly
that comes
what it
out
was.
about it. But whatever.
Go ahead, talk. I'll
So
look it up.
all
in
the
the
way,
meantime.
and also back all the way in May, Biden's platform, we were still questioning back then what Biden's policy was. We still don't have a clear idea of Biden's policies other than sign a
Well, we
bunch
have-
of executive orders. Anything that Trump has done, we need to reverse.
Yeah, well, there's been 50 executive orders now. For anybody who was worried about President Trump being a dictator,
Yep.
he didn't sign 50 executive orders.
He didn't sign
Yeah.
50 executive orders in the first 5 months of his presidency. This is the first, 20 days, if that.
Sorry, we're looking up here
Uh,
what Stormy Daniels' lawsuit was about. This is the juicy stuff, so.
So, Danny, what do you got to bring to the table before I jump back onto Biden? Because I want us to get into him.
Yeah, nah. As far as like the whole Biden doing all that shit, like all these papers are signed. The only thing I really agree with is like the whole, as they say, unfucking what Trump fucked. So the whole not allowing trans people into the military and everything, like that's one thing I support. But because it's a military, you love your country, you want to serve, do what you want to do. Aside from that, just I don't know. I don't know, man. But just, I don't like Biden. Plain and simple. I don't like Trump either like that. But I mean,
Yeah, I agree. I agree with with what you said. I think trans people should be allowed to serve in the military. I got into a big fight on Senator Chris Murphy's page actually about this too.
I stay out of people's business, man.
exactly.
It's not that. It's just that Chris Murphy is my rep, so I comment on things he posts, and then boy, I get it. I get to hate. I get to hate.
I've been seeing some remarks lately that I'm like, these people have to be bots.
Yeah, I think
There
so.
can't be
Yeah.
people that
Like-
really like imagine like this is how life actually
like
is.
that girl on Facebook that was like saying, "Oh, Biden's amazing because he could multitask or something." Like, what the fuck does multitasking? It was the one where I was like, where I posted that South.
Oh,
Park
yeah,
meme.
no,
we
we
talked
can't-
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
You learned,
one,
yeah.
Of the
Yeah.
previous episodes. Yeah, I don't know, man. The loonies. I make a good point on social media, and the loonies come after me.
Yeah.
After. Yeah, I have no problem with transgender people serving in the military. It's just the fact that but the pushback they get is people don't want the military to pick up their tab for like transition
like the hormone
stuff,
like,
yeah.
stuff, whatever.
Yeah, I mean
That we
I-
have to pay for that too and a 5-year-old could choose if they want
Look,
to be a boy or a girl.
I don't know the whole story between that. There could be a financial discussion had there, right? But the thing is, if you have that discussion, you're automatically going to be labeled the racist, the bigot. You hate trans people. You're anti-trans.
Like you can't have
And
an
it-
opposing opinion. Like God forbid.
It's not even an opposing opinion. I'm not saying they can't serve. It's just that we could talk about should like elective surgeries, basically, in a way, even if it is it an
I don't
elective
think anybody
surgery or
needs
not.
to be paying for it. If you're choosing to do this, then you should pay for it. But for going into the military, I don't care. Go to the military, fine. I can't imagine there is that huge of a percentage of that, that part of the culture wanting to join the military that we need to be going to these lengths about it.
Yes.
I don't think they shouldn't. I don't
agree.
think that they shouldn't be not allowed to join. If you really want to join, join. But also understand, it's the military. They don't give a fuck. You're going to be assigned to where you go. There's not going to be any special treatment. You know what I mean? Like if you're showing up thinking you're going to get special treatment, no, you showed up to the wrong place.
On top of that, a
You-
normal
if-
person doesn't get special treatment.
yeah.
Not anybody could just get into the military.
Exactly. So if your heart is really set on joining the military, by all means, go for it. But be all you can be, you know, for your branch. That's what you're showing up for.
Exactly.
Don't look for special treatment.
I think that issue is such a non-issue,
Yeah.
but they are highlighting
Yeah.
it to get people pissed off and divided,
Yeah.
right? You know, transgender people are a very small minority of the population, and the amount of them that are actually going to sign up and serve in the military is probably even smaller. Right? So it's a very
There's
very
no way it's
small,
hundreds of millions
Right.
of people. There's no way it's like 100,000 people that are trans
No,
trying to
I don't
join the
think so.
military. That like you need to take action to be like, we got to make sure we can allow this. Like,
Right, it's a very small thing. It's a very non-issue, but they're highlighting it as this major issue because they know it's gonna pit people on one side against the other side, and you're gonna argue, and we're gonna talk about it on the podcast. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's gonna piss people off. Push that. That'll keep people divided. Push that one. You know what I mean? When in reality, it's a couple thousand people.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I mean? It's no
It's
big deal.
they're
not
they're
that
not any
big of
less
a deal.
important. That 1,000 people is not any
No,
less
that's not what I'm
important.
saying.
But if there's 5, 10, 20,000 trans people that want to join the military, okay, we're not. If it was 25 million people, trans people trying to join, like, and they weren't allowed, that's a fucking issue. 20,000 people is just, you know,
Yeah.
new battalion.
I'm not even saying like there's not a lot of people. It's not a big deal to not let them join. Let them join, and you know what? Pay for whatever the fuck they need to be paid for. It's not that many.
Time. We spoke about how Hunter Biden was dishonorably discharged from the military for doing cocaine and then got a job in Ukraine at this oil company.
We spoke about that in that episode all the way back then.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't get
That's
that far
actually
in the,
pretty
in the
deep. Wow.
re-listen.
We knew Hunter Biden was suspicious. We knew he was in a position that he shouldn't have been in. We didn't even know about the laptop back then. And on top of it, the FBI knows every conspirator who raided the Capitol on January 6th, but they can't solve the mystery of the Hunter Biden laptop.
They don't want to.
Yeah. You know,
It's pretty obvious.
so we're talking over what 40 something episodes ago, we called Hunter Biden being shady.
Yeah.
We said that Joe Biden was going to, you know, this was all going to get swept under the rug. Let's see.
What were you going to say before, Danny, about you were going to say something, but then we ran off on a tangent here. It was during our transgender conversation.
Honestly, can't remember. I
No
probably have
worries.
like a random blur.
worries.
Like, oh yeah.
Trying to make sure-
We predicted Como would blame Trump for COVID.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
And also,
I mean, that was easy. That's like predicting.
and also
the
something
Patriots are going to win the World
that
Series,
everybody
the
doesn't
Super Bowl.
remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, Mayor de Blasio didn't want to close the schools. We were talking about how it's, you know, what do we do now? We were talking about basically if they close the schools, what type of strain it's going to put on the parents to make money during these hard times. And now, now they're ready to open up the schools, but forever they were like, no, we got to keep the schools closed. At the beginning of this, when Trump wanted to close things down, they didn't want to close the schools.
But now it's Biden, so
Yeah.
I'm flip.
And also, if you're keeping up on Biden, his first 100 days, he wanted to be able to get schools open again. Press secretary already circled back to that one and said that's not going to be possible to do in the
no.
first 100 days.
She didn't. They asked her again about that. I think it was today or yesterday.
Okay,
and
well,
they
I
asked-
wouldn't know what they said
So,
today.
as we said in our 100 Days episode, one of the goals of Biden's first 100 days was to reopen schools safely and securely, etc. They asked her about it again, and they were saying, you know, what is it going to look like? Is it going to be a mix of online and class? She said, you know, it's gonna. If we could get classes to at least one day in person by the end of the first days, that that's schools would be open safely and securely. Hold on. So you told us that your goal at the end of the 100 days was to reopen schools, but now you're telling us that you're moving the goalposts now. Reopening schools means one day in person is an open school.
That's not an open school.
But he could then, but at the end of the 100 days, he could go, I made my goal of reopening schools within 100 days. They're open. Kids go there one day a week.
They
They're
get
open.
to legally say it's
Yeah.
open.
Yep, and he's gonna get his handshakes, his praise, all that
Yes,
stuff.
exactly. That's
It's-
all I'm
We-
saying. It's
we've-
all hypocrisy.
Listen, we're not experts, and that's the scary thing. Okay, people? Like, I've always wanted everyone to just wake up and question this shit. We are not. We are sitting here drinking bourbon
Yeah,
and
that
beer.
might be a good episode.
And we
name.
have
We're not
yeah.
experts.
We have-
It's like, it's like we said,
we
we're
have
just plain old
toys
idiots.
on the table. He's got green hair. Like,
It's actually aqua. Uncultured
if
swine.
we saw if we saw this shit back in May, June, July, August, September, October. What 9 months? Babies have been born. If you were conceived on the night of that episode, you are already alive and born already. Like 9 months ago, we called this shit, and we're not the experts.
I see what you mean. Yeah, idiots, predicted
Yes.
stuff that was going to happen. And
Major events that change the course of the future in America itself.
yeah, Nostradamus over here. He knows his shit.
I guess so. Hey, that Giants game, I told you to look out for 99, and he fucking ran over everyone. What was that kid's name?
I forget.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh no. Yeah. Why can't I think of his name?
We talked about him on
from
the
the Jets.
No, yeah, the Giants picked up from the Jets.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, man. A lot of shit going on. What else you got about the old episodes? Anything else, or you want to go
Not
into what's
much,
going
but
on?
since we just spoke about Biden, I guess we should go into what's going on next. You want to bring up the military stuff?
Oh yeah. I almost
You
forgot
have
that
the
I wanted to
military
talk.
stuff, and I have how's it been going lately? Because there's some shit people need to realize.
Have you heard about the military stuff and the stand down order?
We talked about it in the group chat. I haven't been like up to date, like just when it was mentioned. That's
There's
the only thing I know.
no way to be up to date about it because Fox and CNN.
Oh yeah, no, they're gonna.
And nobody is
keep it
running
hush-hush.
stories on a major announcement that the Department of Justice, right, the DOJ,
No, the Secretary of Defense.
that the Secretary of Defense,
Yeah, I'll give
this
some
major
background.
announcement that he had.
I'll give some background to what we're talking about. A few days ago, the Secretary of Defense that Biden just got confirmed. Biden just put in. He announced that there'll be a complete stand down of all military operations for 60 days. And the reason being that within the 60 days, they're going to do a complete review of all military personnel and root out any white nationalist, domestic terrorist threats within the military. All right. That sounds, as we've said a million times, that sounds great. We don't want white nationalists. We don't want domestic terrorists in our military. But
and I have
But why
such
you
a
Wait a minute.
rebuttal.
but hold on.
I have such a rebuttal.
Go ahead. Give me a rebuttal already.
So first off, shout out to somebody. I hope people are still listening at this point in the podcast. This podcast is from an expert. Okay? We might not be experts, but this podcast is from an expert. And he knows his shit. He is a professor, Professor Nick Giordano. Check his podcast out, the PSA report with
PAS report.
PAS report with Nick Giordano, and he has actual analytical facts, and he has the education behind him to present these facts as factual. So it's not just two guys drinking, having a good time talking about crazy shit. Listen to the PAS report. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, listen to us more, though.
What happened?
Listen to us more,
Yeah.
though.
But anyway, so, they were talking about this. This domestic terrorist, white nationalist stuff is a super broad brush. We made a post the other day on Instagram about how it just includes anybody that's not with the far left's agenda. But you have to think, we keep hearing about white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. During the Obama administration, there was no white supremacy in the military. All throughout Trump's, they've said a lot of shit about white supremacy in Trump's administration. They never said white supremacy is in, this white supremacy in the military only came up until Biden started questioning the National Guards if he could trust them for the inauguration.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the first time, but now all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, Trump's a dictator, but 2 weeks later, we're telling the military to stand down to find white nationalists in the military. Listen, there are racists in this country. And
Always have been.
Yes.
Always will be.
And people have experienced racist acts done to them. And that's still important. That should have never happened to you. But if white supremacy was such an issue in the country,
In the military, especially.
yeah, in the military and in the country, because they bring white supremacy into everything. They meaning the media, the far
The
left, all
Democrats,
that. Yeah.
right.
If white supremacy was such an issue in this country that the media makes it out to, we would be running rampant with KKK and Aryan Brotherhood people.
I mean, we'd be I
We'd
agree.
be knee
I'd
deep
be
in
out.
Nazis.
I'd be out in the streets right now fighting Nazis
Yes.
and fighting
If-
KKK people. I'd be shooting at them.
Yes, I'm. If the KKK, which is a terrible group that we do not like and we do not agree with, if the KKK was such a problem, they would be in every state. They would be nationwide.
They probably are, but they're not
there's-
like
But-
they're not
but-
visible like to the point where they're going to take over.
But what is
or
it?
something.
10
They're
guys
like-
in a field
Like
with a
small
pickup truck?
cells, just
Yeah.
Yeah.
like almost average people.
So
in reality,
there was legitimate terrorist cells in the country from Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
That was a fucking issue. 5 white guys wearing sheets over their heads, drinking beer in the woods, is terrible, and they should not be doing it.
Well, hold on. 5 guys drinking beer in the woods. That's okay.
With
But
hoods
with
over
hoods
their-
over
yeah.
their heads and racist. No, that's not okay.
Yes, being racist. But those 5 guys aren't going to take down the state of Georgia. You know what I mean? Like,
And
If it
and,
was-
and furthermore, are they actually even planning any sort of terrorist? You know, that just might be
that's also
that might
another
just
thing.
be their belief.
Yes.
You know, their belief might be I'm racist and I don't like black people. But are they actually concrete planning some sort of terrorist activity?
do they have an opinion or an action that they're taking? Like,
Yeah.
the number, people don't ever question, because yes, the KKK is bad. I'm saying this into the camera. The KKK is bad. But how many KKK members are there in the country? I really don't feel like there's over 1 million KKK members in the country.
at least enough where it's
And I
really
get it.
threatening.
I get it. 1 million is 1 million too many, and it's a horrible organization.
Yeah.
But there's 320 million people in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's not even a full 1%. But yet, the government can start talking about we need to get rid of these white supremacists in the military. What are you really looking for? And if you remember what you said was genius.
Wow. That's a nice compliment. What?
With what Biden's
him
doing,
genius? That's
with
crazy.
the loyalists.
Yeah. So hang on. I want to. I was first. Let's see if we could even get this answer. You said how many KKK are in the U.S. and I actually started googling it to try and find out. You know, just to see why not.
Now
Are
this
we
is
gonna
on your
get an
search
answer?
history, and you're fucked.
It doesn't seem like there's
No,
going to
wait,
be
wait.
any.
Look, KKK is still banned. Oh no, that's banned in 20.
based,
No, based in 22
22
states.
states in
okay.
the U.S. I feel like we're not going to get a solid answer over how
So
many
of
like individuals.
2017,
Who's its membership? Oh my God! Look, I'm getting COVID pop-ups. I can't even read the article. There we go. 42 different Klan groups were active in 22 states in June 2017. But it's not. It doesn't seem like it's going to give
but
us.
22. It's not 2,200, 22 million Klan groups.
Okay,
it's
wait, hang on.
22.
All right, so nationwide there are still an estimated 3,000 Klan members that identify with Klan ideology as of 2017, a few years ago. Maybe that number went up now? I don't know.
20. Okay, so what? 4 or 5 years ago, there was only 3,000 5 years ago. If there's 6,000 now, yeah, I guess it's 100% increase, but it's only 6,000 people out of 320 plus million people.
Yeah, it's
It's not even.
it's a smaller minority than the transgender people trying
Yes.
to join into the military.
Yes,
exactly.
but this is what gets shoved down your throat, that there's such a white supremacy problem. Racist is being a racist is terrible, and those 6,000 or however many people there are horrible human beings. But there's not enough. The way the media talks about these 6,000 people, are they all carrying nukes?
Right.
What are they going to do to us? If everybody stood up, if 1% of America stood up against those 6,000
Yeah, they'd be
people,
crushed.
They
would be
shitted on.
decimated.
Yeah.
If you literally attacked the people that we were talking about, they'd be gone in a half hour.
Yeah. And what I was talking about the other day is it seems like it's a scapegoat. You know, like it seems like to me a classic Soviet like exercise. Like when Stalin takes power, Stalin makes sure everyone in the military is vetted for supreme loyalty to Stalin, and no dissenting opinions in there. There's no majority of white nationalist racists in the military to insinuate such a thing.
If there's only 6,000 or so KKK members in the entire country in the military, that must mean there's way less. 400 maybe.
That is a disgrace to every service member in the military right now to make them all stand down as they're being vetted for being white nationalists. That is an absolute slap in their fucking face.
Yeah.
And it's virtue signaling. It's not to the extent that I said where Joseph Stalin is vetting people loyal to the party to an extent. It's more of like we need to virtue signal and make sure we're doing something about the racists in there because the racists out there, the white nationalists, they're a threat because there's Trump supporters and they're bad. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. It's theatrics, political theatrics. Everyone against the Democrats is bad, and we're going to make sure that all these white nationalist Trump supporters, we get rid of them. Why? Because we're the good guys, and you have to make sure that you vote for us going forward.
What are they doing?
It's like if you're a Trump supporter. I'm sorry.
Go.
It's like it's funny too because it's like if you're a Trump supporter, automatically racist. Yeah. Like when I showed you guys that picture of me and that girl on Facebook. When she's talking about like BLM, like getting like shot and like tear gas, all that shit, and their protests and everything, which they shouldn't have gotten tear gas, all that shit. Whatchamacallit.
You just went like, you had like such a great lead up.
No, good.
Yeah, no, I just had like a random, but whatchamacallit. But it's like we had video evidence and everything. We were like in the group chat, we're like watching it. People like got tear gas, like be getting. You have that fucking woman that got shot and killed and everything.
For what? The Capitol riots?
Yeah.
And they can't prove who killed her.
Weird. But, whatchamacallit. Like, I was telling the person, I'm like, because she was like, oh, if it was a BLM protester, like, there'd be more bodies and everything. I'm just like, why is it a contest of who has the more bodies? Like, someone was still killed and everything. Doesn't matter how many people, someone still died.
Right, they all suck equally. Yeah.
But immediately, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm
for having
racist and everything just because I'm just pointing out a fact.
Dude, so you're talking about if you're a Trump supporter, you're a racist and stuff. So shout out once again Tom McDonald. He's really become my favorite rapper right now. He's number one with Fake Woke. Check out some of his other songs. I think No Lives Matter. There's a line he has in No Lives Matter that I was talking to you about it, how we've basically painted ourselves in the corner where, what is it? If you're a Trump supporter, you're racist, and if you're not, I guess you're Antifa.
Yeah.
So we've literally painted both sides. This is what Skaggs and I have this podcast for. We're trying to show you that it's not this. Right now, if you look at it in the media, if you're a Trump supporter, you're a racist. But if you're a left-wing Democrat, you're Antifa. Like they're so extremes, but there's more of us in the middle than you need than needs to change things. Like we have the numbers. Like
there's more common sense.
Yeah, we are not being represented.
No,
we just had a Time magazine article say how this shadow organization came to be to save us all from evil Trump. But we didn't choose that. You know what I'm saying? Like
we're just sitting here doing a podcast. Yeah. We had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have nothing to do with it. Let's talk a little bit more about this.
Let me get a little bit more of that, Danny.
Real quick, this white nationalist threat from within the military. And then
we need to talk about how Joe Biden's doing.
How come has anyone listening, has anyone heard any sort of specifics whatsoever? Names, groups, places, locations, times, affiliations of any sort of actual concrete evidence of white nationalists, racists, whatever, that are plotting some sort of domestic terror threat.
Let's use the name they're using, domestic terrorists.
Right, domestic terror. No, I have not heard any specific from the government whatsoever. I'm good on who these people are, where they're from, anything. There has been not one specific about it whatsoever. Yep. And then I posted also on our Instagram the other day a point that Candace Owens made. Candace Owens said, all the might of the government, the FBI, everyone doing all this investigation of everything that's going on regarding the Capitol riot, how come they haven't found the guy who did the pipe bomb near the Capitol building yet.
We
They found
know-
it. They tracked down every
that
other
is
person, every other guy who got into the Capitol, but the pipe bomb guys, no, nothing. They got nothing on those guys.
Though he's off the grid. You know, he's you know,
Come
he
on.
works outside the matrix.
Dude, they, especially near the Capitol building, Washington, D.C., there's cameras everywhere. You mean to tell me they didn't get a license plate, you know, footage from before he got there, before he parked, him putting the bomb down, even if he concealed his identity? That's very weird that they have no information or have made no arrests whatsoever on the pipe bombers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the day of the Capitol riot, someone, there was, I believe, 2 pipe bombs planted near the Capitol building, premeditated before Trump gave his speech or anything like that. Two people apparently showed up and planted pipe bombs there. They have not been tracked down. They have not been located. There's been no details whatsoever about them. Somehow. But every other person who got into the Capitol building, they've caught
not
and
an issue.
brought to justice.
Do you know Bank of America? Okay, Bank of America tracked these people and
that's
gave
true.
them up. Okay, so if you were a Bank of America, if you have a Bank of America account with their credit card and debit card, and you were in the D.C. area on January 6th, Bank of America sold your information to the FBI so they could question you if you were involved in the riot or not.
Good thing I do.
Isn't
have
that
nothing to
amazing?
do with Bank of America.
Okay, so
What if you were just there coincidentally? They'd still sell your information, right? And then
yeah, if
the
I
FBI
had gone the way and I wanted to go and just stayed in the crowd and was 40 minutes back where he had the speech, the huge walk that it takes, they would come and question me. If I booked a hotel or something,
they could
with
then
my credit card.
in court present that as evidence against you
That I
that
was
you were
there.
there.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up.
Just
dude.
go out of their way to ruin your life just because you were there. All this other bullshit.
Yep. So this
Like, come on.
so this is going to be my big rant, which is crazy because I've been ranting and raving the whole episode.
You're right.
You just put your mic away. Yeah. All right. So Joe Biden's in office. I accept that. Joe Biden's the president. I'm not denying this. I put the Q shit aside. They say they've been talking crazy stuff. I don't believe it. Biden is here. This is the path we're going in.
Well, he's Q now.
Yeah, I guess he's Q now. Yeah. Q's taking on, a whole new letter now, like Z or something, but
B.
yeah. So anyway, people are so happy that the mean orange man is gone. We need to wake up here for a second. Biden's been in office for not even a full 30 days. I think maybe just 20 days. He's signed 52 executive orders. All he's been doing is undoing Trump stuff. But fine, that's his power. I don't care. The one thing I am proud of Joe Biden with right now, so it is what's today, February 10th? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
today's February 10th. Right now is the first day of Trump's impeachment trial. The House of Representatives that we all voted for, I don't care who's in there, is holding up the Senate, who we also voted for right now, to impeach a president who is no longer president. Fine, if it's constitutional to impeach a president after he's out of office, cool. I think Obama should be impeached because he gave a pallet of cash, a plane full of cash, sent it to Iran. Look it up, Iran, I believe. Look it up. I'm not lying. I think that's an impeachable offense.
Can I interject?
Yep.
How deep do you want to go into the impeachment here? First of all, deep.
I'm down to go with it.
So
but
far, we don't have the whole thing yet. So,
what
let
are
me
we at
have
right
to do a
now? What are we
separate
at right
episode.
now?
we got that. We're an hour in. We got
Oh
time.
boy! All right.
Well, let me just make a point for what you're saying. I saw a funny. So yesterday was actually the first day of the impeachment trial, and the first day of the impeachment trial was them discussing is it constitutional or not to impeach a president who is not actually president anymore. And obviously, the Democrats, they argued that yes, it is constitutional.
That's fine.
And Trump's lawyers argued no, it is not constitutional. Right. So I watched a lot of this. This thing was on C-SPAN. I watched it live. There was a lot of it's going on. And they presented evidence from, the founding fathers of impeaching other officials who were no longer in office, and et cetera. And they impeached them after they had left office, whatnot. I saw a funny tweet yesterday, and it said, the logic the Democrats are using they could go and impeach George Washington for being a slaveholder. I'm not even joking. They literally could, if theoretically that is the logic that they're using. Because someone that was president did something bad you
that
didn't
they don't like.
You could go back at any point in time, doesn't matter how long it's been, and impeach them. So theoretically, you could impeach, and they should. They should impeach George Washington for holding slaves. They really should.
Yeah.
But they're not because it's not Orange Man. So
they should impeach him. He was a racist. He held slaves. Impeach George Washington. Hashtag.
So what was the last thing I was talking about then?
Impeachment. You were talking about the beginning of the impeachment trial.
Right. So they chose to, they voted that way. Fine. And like I said, you want to vote, we should be able to now impeach Obama for what he did. But it still does not help me. That sucks now.
You're saying if we, just like we're going to impeach George Washington, if we go back and impeach Barack Obama for the Iran
we should be
deal,
allowed to. But I had a point where I was going. I'm just trying to remember the last thing I said.
Let me maybe make your point here. If we go back and impeach Obama for making the Iran deal, does that undo the Iran deal? No.
No. Well, also, why I'm proud of Joe Biden. So I've said this in previous episodes that that Congress and the government is so corrupt that it actually comes to a screeching halt. Okay? And right now, in the House of Representatives is tying up the Senate. We all voted for, these people to be in their position. They are having a revenge campaign against somebody who is out of office. You know what I'm saying? Like, we voted for you to make America great again. And I'm sorry it's Trump's slogan, but like, people believe that these Democratic leaders are fit enough to push America to make it great, right? Joe Biden's in the office. He's the only one fucking working. All of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, is wrapped up in a bullshit impeachment trial. He's out of office. Biden's president. Why are you wasting time on revenge right now? Somebody today saw me reading an article at work, and they're like, "Oh, are you watching the impeachment?" I was like, "No, I would never watch that garbage." She's like, "Oh," and I was like, "But listen, I didn't vote for these people to run a revenge campaign. That's what I was like, he's out of office. What more do you want? Like, this is just revenge." And she's like, "You're right. With everything that we need to do for America and get it back on track, we should be worrying about other stuff, not revenge." And I was like, I don't think America's going to be back on the right track, but like, you fucking get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we are wasting time on revenge and everybody's okay with that. That is not okay. Yeah. Biden is literally the only one working in Congress right now by signing these executive orders.
And he needs to be working on my stimulus check right now, actually.
Yeah, well, good luck. But on top of that, Biden has been in his basement for so long. There is no way he's being briefed. There's no way he's been briefed in 2-3 weeks on 52 executive orders. He doesn't know what he's signing. There's no way he could be.
He's not writing 52 executive orders.
You still need to be briefed on it.
You could probably be briefed. You're right, actually. You know what? How many days has it been? 20-something, so it'd be more than one a day.
It's like 6 a day, 5 a day.
Maybe they were, but all right, let's give him benefit of the doubt. Maybe they had them ready before he took office. You know what I mean? Like, they knew they'd roll
with
him out.
With all the evidence that we've come up with tonight.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I get it. I don't know.
I don't know what it's like to be president.
You're right.
So
I agree that his administration has been working on this prior to. Yeah. So, but to be up to speed on everything.
No, and I don't think any president probably is, right?
That's why you only sign 1 or 2, not 19. Go on, Danny. I'm sorry.
I'm saying especially him, where he's just like Sleepy Joe. I mean,
there was the one video of him. He's like, I don't even know what I'm signing.
Yeah. I didn't. I saw that. I never brought it up because I figured, I was like, you're not going to believe that, and I was like, fuck it. I don't care.
I don't know 100% if that's what he said or not. So that's why I don't really want to talk about it. But that's what people were saying he said. But I don't know. It could have been like. He could have just been mumbling.
He wore a mask
something.
and he was mumbling.
Right.
Which is how fucking convenient in the age of technology is now every time the president's going to be shown, he's going to have a mask on. So if he says something, you might not fucking hear it. And you're not going to see his lip. You know what I'm saying? Like, It's almost like a concealment that, like, I'm still going to do whatever. Like,
yeah. Well, now you got to wear 2, maybe 3.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
Yep, and then you got to get some, a test stuck up your ass now too. That's a new.
So, So my big rant that I want to finish up with, I'm going to go through. We'll start with you, Danny. So you got the different perspective on us. You don't like Biden. You don't like Trump. You haven't been happy for a while now. How do you think Biden's been doing? With the knowledge you have, how do you think
Your
Biden's
own personal
been doing?
knowledge. Like
yeah,
me and Chris
Just-
talk about this shit all the time.
yeah,
so
we
we
read
have
this stuff
opinions.
constantly. Yeah,
I'm a patient person. I'm doing my best to just be patient with him. Right now, everything is, like I said, just unfucking what's been fucked. He's just undoing everything that Trump did. How about doing something that's yours? Just, like, stop undoing something that someone else did. Like, that's fine. Like, whatever, just do that. But
I
I
agree
want
with that.
something that's yours.
I
Like,
agree with that.
Yeah.
But so I'm just getting ready for next week. I'm sparring with you at this point. So he's unfucking what Trump fucked. Biden reversed Trump's order to decrease the price of insulin and EpiPens. That's fucked up. He just raised
Yeah.
the price of medicine
No,
on sick people.
You know, I only say unfucked what Trump fucked because that's what I keep seeing on media. So media paints that picture. for
Biden
what everybody-
reversed
so
the
that's why I say
order.
it like that.
Biden reversed the order that Trump set out to give the CCP American data from TikTok. So remember when they said TikTok was going to go down? That never happened because Trump signed an executive order that American internet companies were not allowed to work with the CCP to give them, even though TikTok is Chinese owned,
Yeah.
and they want American data. Plain and that's the truth.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Trump stopped that. Biden reversed that. Biden is the man of unity, and he said he was going to be moderate and the president for everybody. That ain't helping nobody.
He hasn't been at all. Let me push back on you on the what was it, insulin, right? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The executive order that Trump signed, yes, was aimed at lowering the price of insulin, but it has not, apparently, from the research I've done regarding that, it hasn't actually lowered the price of insulin yet. Maybe it would have, like, over time,
Yeah.
and it would have, and Biden reverses, so now we'll never know. But it's not like the president waves his magic wand
And it's
and
like
And it's
$5
amazing.
now.
No,
right.
Okay.
No,
Takes
that's
time.
not how things work. It's like you
time.
put a policy in place, and that policy over time brings the price down. You know what I mean?
I'll accept that.
It's not like it just magically happens. The president doesn't just command
Yeah,
the
I'll
economy, the
accept
prices and whatnot. But maybe it would have.
I'm
We
sorry
don't
to
know.
spar with
No,
you,
that's
Danny,
fine.
but
No.
I
Also,
wanted
how
your
do you guys
perspective.
how do you guys feel about us bringing us back into the Paris Agreement? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Oh,
Everybody's
man,
known my.
Yeah.
Listen. If you want
Just want to touch
fix
up on an
global-
old subject.
If you want to fix global warming, my God, the guy with
Let's-
the green
let's-
hair brought up global warming.
Yes, let's. You know, here's a good idea. Since you're asking us, let's state our official positions on the Paris Agreement and the climate change. We've never really done that before.
Okay, fine.
Go ahead, you go first.
I'm all for saving the planet. If you watch Zac Efron's, what was that Netflix show he
I
had?
can't remember, but it's a good show.
Down to Earth with Zac Efron. Watch that show. What they're doing in Iceland with thermal nuclear energy,
We should
and what they're
adopt that.
doing in France with pure mineral water, these are fantastic ideas that need to be implemented everywhere that they possibly could be.
Yeah, but how does mineral water?
No. So
No, you have
he's
to watch
talking
the
about
episode.
he's
Oh,
talking
yeah?
about
Okay.
saving the world and all that stuff. The Paris Agreement, the Paris Accords, in theory, is great. Yes, we want to be able to save these, we want to be able to save other countries from these disasters to preserve the nature that they provide the earth. That's a great idea. But the issue is America takes the beating for 10 plus years. America isn't as dirty as you imagine it to be. Americans actually really, as a collective group, are a green nation. We're not as dirty as we think.
Oh, no, I can smell you from here. I mean,
Well, we're a pretty green nation compared to other nations, mainly China, Russia, and India. America gets taxed for a CO2 that they don't produce,
yeah.
and we're going to be paying to help other countries reduce their emissions. But the three biggest people who make the most pollution in the entire planet get to not pay a dime for 10 plus years and get to opt in for extensions, while America is the only one being squeezed of money.
Makes
It's
no sense.
it's-
no sense.
it's nonsense. There's no way you're going to stop them polar ice caps from melting by raising my taxes. You need to sanction China, India, and Russia. And I'm not even saying that they're bad countries, but they have the most pollution. China and Russia don't even need to tell you how much CO2 they pump into. They have factories just doing experiments. It could be a nuclear factory just pumping radiation into the atmosphere, and they don't need to report it.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% believe that climate change is a real
Yes,
problem.
it
and
is.
and
Yeah,
it's
no,
happening,
like,
right?
it's-
We've kind of seen it in our own
Yes.
lifetime over 30 years. The thing is, I agree with you. I feel like I agree that it's a problem, and we need to have like a
not
global
going about it right.
a global consensus in order to tackle it. Because if the United States decides to become a green country, like
is.
many other countries are 100% green, that is just one country.
Yeah.
It's not the whole world. So it has to be a global thing. I agree with you. The Paris Agreement's not a good deal because it's not really it is really taking America and setting this like high threshold for America, but everybody else could have time. And I understand that the argument made is like, well, these countries have a lot more people living in poverty and etc. But if
Not my problem.
but if we're talking about the end of the world, that has to be set aside, right? Every single nation has to become greener and stop polluting. So I'm all for change everything, change every car to an electric car, and make sure that the power plants are green and there's more solar power and there's this and there's that. Fine. But it has to be equal across the board. You can't tell me that, like you said, my taxes have to go up to, to pay for China polluting. If you
China
want
pollutes the most, and they have 10 years without paying, and then they have like an agreement to get another 10-year extension before they have to pay a dime.
Right. Like,
we don't even get
And
the
what if we-
option to opt out.
yeah. Well, we did. We did
yeah.
opt out.
Yeah, but look.
But
how
no,
that turned out.
us as China could get an extension. We have to pay from day one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Look, if you want to talk about taxes and how taxes could actually make less pollution, carbon taxes. You ever heard of carbon taxes before? The more a corporation pumps carbon into the atmosphere, the more we're going to tax you. So if you have some sort of plant that makes whatever, or like a gasoline plant or something, and it pumps a lot of carbon emissions into the atmosphere, we're going to have to tax you on that percentage. And that will force... Go ahead, you raise your hand, go ahead.
Why do you think Nike is based in China?
But I'm saying it has to be across the board.
I understand that.
To the whole world.
I understand that. But with the rules that are set right now, and we're not contesting the rules, these are the rules. These people are abiding by the rules. For the tax that we already have on the corporations, Nike is big enough to go to China
Right.
and pump whatever they want into the sky and sell it to us in America at an hugely increased
Right.
price. But China isn't going to get taxed for the next 20 years on this deal.
Yeah, in order for this whole climate change, Paris Agreement, whatever you want to call it, to work, it'd have to be like a fair agreement across the board. And so that corporations, which have no nation, really, right? Corporations are like this entity that's not a citizen of any nation. It's a global entity. They could kind of just like skirt around those rules because they're not a person. No. It has to be aimed at them. Me and you could drive less. We can. I shared something
smaller
before.
cars.
I shared something before, and it's like all these planes flying and polluting the atmosphere, and it's these two guys, and they're like, "What's all this about?" And it's like, "Oh, it's 200 world leaders flying private jets to a climate summit to tell me that I have to stop driving my SUV." That's fucking true. That is true. As much as you want to say not. You're tiny. They want to blame like the individual, the tiny individual person in China, in America, in India. They want to blame the individual for climate change. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing I can do to undo climate change on a personal level. The corporations, they could do something. They could stop mass
they're
pollution.
a big enough body and have enough influence.
Yes, they're the
we
one.
don't have that much influence compared to them.
Right, exactly.
They're the real difference makers.
And they skirt around it because they're not a person living under the rule of one country. They can bounce around and get around
That's why Trump didn't like the Paris Accord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for a new Paris Accord that makes fucking sense, but this one don't.
Yeah. So back on topic, how do you think Biden's been doing?
I think he's done nothing but virtue signaling. He hasn't done anything okay. I still consider myself a progressive. He hasn't done things that are going to really help progressives.
He said he was going to be the moderate president. Has he done anything moderate?
Yes, almost everything's been moderate.
What, sending troops back overseas?
Yeah, that's very moderate.
All right.
Yeah,
all right,
that's
I'll
very
give it to you.
corporate, centrist, moderate.
For the powers that be, yeah, it is.
Yeah, there it is. If you want to, a progressive or a far left and a far right would both agree no more troops overseas.
Yeah.
A libertarian and a progressive agree on foreign policy over soldiers overseas in war. And does that make any sense? A progressive and a libertarian agreeing on something that's kind of, like, it doesn't sound like it would make sense.
Libertarians are now domestic terrorists as well.
So. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it doesn't sound like that would make sense if they agree on a
Yeah.
point, but they do agree on that point. There should be no more intervention across, around the world. So, I mean, he's just done business as usual. He's done establishment business as usual. That's it. He's just reinforced that. The only thing that you could say from a progressive, a real left point of view, he's done is entertain. I'm not sure exactly where it's at. The $15 minimum wage.
It'd be terrible short term.
Whatever you want. No,
Long term it'll work out.
I'm all for raising the minimum wage because it hasn't been raised in such a long time. But that's literally like the only thing so far. He's fucked everybody over, Biden, on the $2,000 checks. They said explicitly 2,000, 2,000. It's going to be 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Now it's 1,400. Why? Because we gave you 600 before. No. That was Trump gave me $600 before, and that was a totally separate bill. You promised me 2,000, and you could get into the argument of, is that good to be just printing money and giving it to people? That's a totally separate argument. I'm not even going to get into.
AOC called them out on it. No.
Yes, I give AOC credit, and a lot of the squad, the super wokey progressive liberals, they've been hammering Biden on that. They're saying, we said 2,000. You're not, you know what I mean? And I even looked at
Shocking he's not keeping his promises.
I looked at her Instagram yesterday, and she wrote, someone asked her a question about that, and we just got to keep pushing him about it.
Yeah.
What about you?
So,
You the captain is happy with Biden yet? I don't know.
Well, I'm glad he's the only one working in Congress. At least somebody's doing something.
In the government.
But people need to wake up. I know, coming from me, this is the worst source it could be coming from. But everything I'm going to say is actually taking place. Look, Trump wasn't no, star-studded, presidency that fixed everything. I don't disagree. I don't agree with a lot of Biden's executive orders. I don't think spending the first 20 days of your presidency undoing everything the last guy did is good use of your time or sending a good message to future presidents. Because if there ever is another Republican president, now we got to wait another 20 plus days before he gets to work while he undoes all of your shit.
Now in 20 days, the Republican president's going to have 100 executive orders.
Yeah. So he's going to have to double the 52. So he's,
Yeah.
And then
He's
the
going to
next
have
Democrat.
he's going to have to undo Biden's orders and then
And
redo
reinstate,
Trump's. Right. So it's going to double every time.
It's to the
It's gonna be a
point
never-ending
where
cycle now.
it's to the point where I said they should just make one executive order saying anything the Orange Man did, any law he put into place, any EO, any appointee is now reversed. Nobody is going to hold Biden accountable for this. He might as well just do it in one executive order. It don't matter anymore. You've already signed 52. You've ended the Keystone Pipeline and put thousands of people out of work on your first day in office.
Can I make an extra point about that? I saw a map of all the pipelines in America. There's thousands.
Oh, so this is one out
Right,
of a few
and it was
thousand?
like and the meme was it was a meme, and it was like the thousands of pipelines that are in America. It's like, tell me how does one pipeline going to make any difference whatsoever?
Oh, that I didn't know.
Besides those people's lives who are being
Perspective. That's a good perspective. This is what we look for. I didn't know there was hundreds of pipelines.
Yeah, you did
I mean,
homework.
I don't know
A
if
lot of people
I don't know
would
if
not.
it's either hundreds or possibly thousands, but the entire country looked like, was veins like everywhere. That's how many pipelines there are everywhere.
So anyway, so yes, a Republican is just going to undo everything, but there are things people need to realize. Under the Biden administration, there's no more First Amendment. Okay? Fine, you wanted to get rid of Trump's Twitter account because he had a following and he might be inciting riots. I'm going to give it to you, fine. Mike Lindell, a Trump supporter who used to be a crackhead and then started his own company and is now a millionaire, is banned from Twitter. His company is banned from Twitter, and he made a documentary questioning the election. That's banned from all media platforms.
Is this the My Pillow guy?
Yeah, Mike Lindell.
Did you see David Hogg is making his own counter pillow?
Oh yeah, and everybody's giving him reduced prices to start his own company.
I saw something Tim Pool tweeted today. It's like in 2021 we have come to pillow warfare. That's where we're at now. That's how divided the country is.
This is under
pillow warfare.
This is under the Biden administration. So people open your ears. The First Amendment is on the chopping block. Biden's been in office for 20 plus days. Okay? The whole GameStop thing, we don't work in a fair and free market. So we've gotten rid of our First Amendment. We've gotten rid of a fair and free market. Okay? What did we talk about before? The Secretary of Defense is now combing the military for the first time in the history of the military. They're combing for people that they don't agree with, and they won't tell you what exactly they're looking for. So now they're only looking for loyalists. Who did that? Didn't they do that in the Nazis? And
I said Stalin.
And Stalin.
Nazis.
They only wanted loyalist people.
It sounds
But
nice
Trump
the way
is
they're
the
doing it.
Nazi.
That can't happen in America. It can't happen. It can't happen. The people who were telling you it was happening for 4 years are now telling you that can't happen.
Yeah.
That can't happen. That can't happen. It's impossible. It can't happen. Didn't happen for 4. It was happening for 4 years, but now it can't happen.
The military is being questioned for looking for people who are going to only listen to marching orders. We are not allowed to question a free election. Okay, we don't have a free and fair market,
debate.
but we can't even debate about a free and fair election. It's not against the law to question the outcome of an election.
An election that, according to Time magazine, was
fortified.
fortified. Rules were changed. Laws were changed. An elite cabal of people, met behind the scenes in a shadow attempt to make sure to fortify the election. Can't question that.
Yeah.
Can't question it.
This is all happening under the Biden administration. Look at what has taken place in 20 days. Are you really happy we got rid of the loud guy? Are we really happy that we got rid of the guy who does mean tweets? Twitter is the least of... This is what people don't understand. The uneducation of America. Twitter is the least of our fucking problems. Who cares what people are saying on Twitter?
I care.
Don't forget, they banned his Twitch.
Because they have an audience, though.
I get that. But wouldn't you rather be paying attention to the guy who is going to be putting money in your pocket or taking money out of your pocket?
I pay attention to that, too. Of course. I'm just saying, that's me, though.
But people didn't like...
People don't.
Listen, Trump might have had, a bad rap, but some of his policies weren't horrendous, and now they're all being undone. But people don't care about that because he tweeted too much.
Right.
That is ridiculous. We are paying attention to the wrong things. We are still paying attention to the wrong things because people are losing their First Amendment rights on these social media platforms. And then they tell you, go to somewhere else. So we all went to Parler. And then the internet platforms crushed Parler and said, we're a monopoly and you're not going to do anything about it.
It's not only that people are not worried about losing their First Amendment rights; they're cheering it on. From Star Wars, right? What does Padme say? So this is how democracy dies.
With a
With a
thunderous
applause. That's exactly what's happened. People are allowed to say disgusting shit. They just are. That's the part of the First Amendment. If you give AOC the wand of truth where she could determine what's right and what's wrong, she'll say everything you say critical of her is wrong. I posted our that meme that we posted. Remember, it's of the QAnon shaman, and he's I don't know if you saw it. Basically, we posted a meme. It's the Q shaman guy, and he's breaking into the room, and AOC is screaming.
Yes.
It's a meme. It's a funny fucking meme of The Shining, and it's playing on the fact that AOC said she thought her life was in jeopardy, and it's playing on the stupidity of the QAnon shaman guy. I posted that in a group that I'm in called "Let's All Laugh at Politics." Wow, wow!
I'm
Again,
guessing you
the
got a
shit
lot of hate.
I took. It's not right. This is messed up. This, that, whatever. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is fucking hysterical. It's a funny meme. And this group is called Let's All Laugh at Politics.
And people join it not to laugh.
I that's where I said, I'm like, listen,
have
if
to
you
be
can't,
bots.
I'm like, it could be. I'm like, if you can't take a joke, which this is actually a really funny one, pointed at AOC or Trump or anyone, you shouldn't be in a group called Let's All Laugh at Politics. Dude, who knows,
Is that where
bro?
that
Maybe
blonde woman found you? Like, just rationing?
no, that was from Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy,
Okay.
dude. Chris Murphy, he might be a cyborg. I'll be honest with you. And he just has a Facebook cyborg following because I've never seen anything like that. Where as soon as I write anything in his posts, the amount of hate and like establishment point of view criticisms I take. You know, I want to have our friend John on to have like a debate with us, or soon. And John's not, John is a real person that I could have a conversation with. These people literally just, it looks like Chris Murphy wrote their response for them. It's fucking weird. Maybe it is, dude. Maybe there's some sort of algorithm program that the establishment has come up with when people comment a negative comment on an establishment Democrats Facebook thing.
There definitely is.
Their Facebook thing. Bam! The algorithm recognizes you commented something negative, and here come the bots to attack you.
It's a virus.
Basically, that's not impossible, dude. That is very possible with the technology we have.
Yeah, with
nowadays.
the words you use.
I actually said that when the COVID started in Italy, there was this article about how when COVID started in Italy, especially in Milan, it spread from Milan. The Milan government brought a lot of Chinese experts in. What do we do? Like, how do we manage this? And the Chinese experts were saying you have to do like lockdown. You have to close business. You have to do this. You have to do
all
that.
the stuff that made it worse.
And the Italians right off the onset were, they were thinking about it, and some of the politicians were posting again, like, this is a bad idea on social media. It turns out that bots, algorithms that the Chinese created were attacking those politicians in the comments, saying, no, you're wrong. You're putting people at risk. You're doing this. You're doing that. This is wrong. It's it's happened before in that regard. So it could be done.
Yeah. So my final comments, and then you guys talk about whatever you want. I'm done for the night. Is I've spent a lot of energy on this. Episode 50. We got to give it back. I know this is going to be a long episode. I hope people sit through it.
It's not that long. We've done fucking 3-hour episodes before, bro.
But the point, so right now there's an impeachment trial going on for Trump, who is now a private citizen because he's not the president
anymore. An entire episode just to break that down.
We will have an episode about this. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about this a lot when we have John on. Okay. The big part of the impeachment trial is analyzing Trump's speech, which is fair. They are trying to say that Trump's speech riled up the crowds to storm the Capitol on January 6th. That is fine. If you want to make that an impeachable offense, fine. It could have possibly riled up these people to start a riot. But with all the white nationalist stuff we've been talking about, all the domestic terrorist stuff we've been talking about, right? There is people on the left, and you can look this up, who also have shady rhetoric that directs violence, you could say. This is what I called you about before.
Yes. This guy literally called me before to tell me
Yeah.
about this great point he heard.
So
He told me to write it down. He tells me, write it down because I'm driving and I can't remember. I'm playing Call of Duty right
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna say.
With
like,
Who
Demar.
was doing the
time
more
was it?
important
Yeah.
thing? Driving to your house?
I'm playing Call of Duty with more. He's like, write this down. I'm like, okay, I have my fucking headset from my Xbox over here. And then
Wait, that
this
was when
there.
we were playing that night?
No, this was
Or-
just before.
An
This
hour
was
ago.
before, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like,
How
are
am
you
I
writing?
supposed to know you're playing fucking Call of Duty?
He goes, are you writing it down? I'm like, no, I'm just gonna remember it. Don't remember it. No, I remember it. But go ahead.
Anyway, luckily I remembered it. So, so they're analyzing Trump's actual speech, and for anybody watching the impeachment, they literally cut off his speech when he says to peacefully walk down there. You know, just conveniently, they don't need that part of the speech. But there is AOC, Nancy Pelosi, and the ex-CIA director John Breslin, Brennan, sorry, all talking in the same manner about domestic terrorists. John Brennan actually lumped libertarians into the domestic terrorist group. There is nothing, the libertarians is a quiet political party that probably a lot of you don't know about because you don't know much about anything. But the libertarians are actually a legitimate third party.
Of everything that was lumped in with that broad
Yeah.
brush, the most weird and suspicious thing was libertarians. You know who's a libertarian? Dave Smith, who we've talked about before, the guy who talked about the microaggressions. His podcast is called Part of the Problem. He is a libertarian. Libertarians are very socially liberal.
Yeah.
You want to get married and you're gay? Go for it. You want to be transgender? Go for it. They're very liberal socially.
But they are in favor of small government.
Economically, they're very conservative to the point where they feel like I should build the road and charge you for it.
Yeah.
And the government should have nothing to do with anything. To even mention them as a domestic terror, that doesn't make any logical sense. There's an agenda behind that.
They are only lumped into that because they don't agree with the current agenda. This domestic terrorist stuff is such a broad brush, but we all know it's Trump supporters, gun lovers, Second Amendment support, blah blah blah.
My
blah.
pillow, guys.
But it doesn't talk about Antifa, who is an actual domestic terrorist group.
Basically.
Okay? So they lump this white national domestic terrorist group. We have
The Proud Boys.
we have the ex-director of the CIA lumping in libertarians into domestic terrorists. We have AOC basically saying anyone who has speech, you know, Ted Cruz tried to kill me. She was involved in the riots when she was in a building that wasn't even breached. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, even in a statement said that she is in favor of the alphabet soup agencies using tactics to spy on counterterrorism for, you know, terrorist cells across the country to spy on domestic terrorists because there's even cells of white supremacy within the halls of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, I heard that. Can I make a point? You saying all this stuff just made me think of something. We talked about the Ku Klux Klan before, right? How could John Brennan say that the Libertarians, the Libertarian Party, should be looked at for being considered domestic terrorists, but he didn't mention the Ku Klux Klan?
No.
How is the Ku Klux Klan not on the? It's not. It's not on the list of possible domestic terrorists. They just say it's racist and white supremacists, but they don't call out the Ku Klux Klan specifically by name. They call it libertarians by name, but they don't call out the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that a little bit weird?
But so now
it raises a brow.
Now, my point here is they are analyzing Trump's speech to impeach him to make sure he never runs for office again because he might have incited the January 6th riot. But here you have the ex-CIA director, a congresswoman, and whoever else the fuck I was talking about, bring up Nancy Pelosi, bring up this broad spectrum of liable fucking sentences against people who are not white supremacists, who are just people on the opposite side of the fence for you, and they don't question your rhetoric. Nancy should be impeached for shit like that.
The funniest thing about that, again, all the people that they mentioned are not the white supremacists. The My Pillow guys, the libertarians, the Trump people. Who else is on that list?
Just anybody who
The
isn't
gun
on
the gun owners.
Yeah.
I'm a gun owner. I'm the most liberal person you're gonna fucking meet, right? Those are not the people who are white supremacists. But the actual white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, are not on the list.
Aryan Brotherhood,
The Aryan, right?
neo-Nazis.
Why are those people not on the list? Why are those groups not on that list?
Because they are such a small subsect. If they were as terrible as the media makes them out to be, the cities would be overrun with them.
It's not even that. It's that they're not worried about them.
No.
They're worried about everybody else. They're worried about the dissenting opinions. They've decided they're going to label dissenting opinions as racist, white nationalists, etc. It's not about the Ku Klux Klan because they're no real threat. And they're not, everybody knows that they're a dissenting opinion. No, we need to move the goalposts. We need to reclassify what white nationalism, what racism is. Libertarians, they're racist. Gun owners, racists.
Yep.
My Pillow guys, racist. You bought a pillow, you're a fucking racist now. You got to go buy a pillow from another guy. I forget what David Hogg is calling his pillow now. I swear to God,
you got to show me this shit after this episode because
I think it's called like Care Pillow or something. I mean, literally 2021 pillow warfare. That's where we're at.
Aren't you guys glad that there's no more mean tweets? Yeah. So you guys give your final thoughts. I'm done. Next thing I say is going to be signing this out. I'm done for tonight.
Go ahead, Danny. We basically talked the whole time. You said barely anything. So you want to chime in anything or anything you want to talk about?
It's been a long day.
Now we care.
Yeah, fucking nuts.
By this point in the podcast, probably everybody already tuned in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You know what sucks too is like we're gonna have to post like make sure you listen to the end of this.
That's all right.
Or just like a timestamp, like listen.
Our most
at
loyal
this minute
fans,
and-
we know who you guys are. They're still
Oh
listening.
yeah. I'm gonna call out
Yes.
a loyal fan.
Yes. Shout out to our friend Amy, by the way, that lives in Florida and she listens to all our stuff. Shout out Amy. Thanks.
Should I call out this other person?
Yeah. Sorry,
right,
Danny, we
so-
cut you off again.
I know. Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna wrap this shit up now. So Danny's opinion don't matter anymore.
That's
Danny,
fine.
say your part. While you look your shit up, go ahead. What were you
here.
gonna say?
Just honestly, I don't even have much to say now. We just nailed everything we wanted to talk about in the episode. Honestly, so. But
Well,
thank you for
whatever.
joining us. Honestly,
exactly,
the first couple episodes, you were
You
like
were
a
in the
part-
background, man.
You were in the background,
yeah.
so you were kind of in the background for this one. So this was a very similar episode
Yeah.
to the first one. We got a little drunk. We went a little bit off the rails. We had Danny in the background. I don't think your hair was as green back then as it
might
is
have been
now.
blue.
It was just,
The only thing that's gonna really just put the cherry on top of this whole like sentimental thing is you got to go outside and fall on your
fall
ass
on your
on the
ass,
snow
yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
and not spill a drop of booze.
Yes, you didn't actually. You had a Heineken.
Yeah,
I
I know.
remember. You didn't spill
Yeah.
a drop.
All right. So we're gonna start the sign. We're good.
Yeah, sign it off.
All right. Doom Nation, episode 50. Keyword doomed. We need to make sure we are awake to make sure the
Keyword
nation.
doom? Where'd you come up with that?
Dude.
Keyword doomed. Where
Just
am I
started.
searching for this keyword?
Dude, now everything we've spoken
Hashtag
about
doom.
today. Listen, I hope people make it to the end of this episode. This is the promo right here. I hope people make it to the end of this episode because we've literally shown proof by just going back to our old, unedited bullshit podcast episodes and bringing up evidence to what is taking place today. All right. So, episode 50, I want to shout out someone. A funny story happened. My cousin was talking to my mother, and they were talking about how my cousin has a friend who listens to political podcasts, and she suggested to my cousin that you need to listen to these two guys. They're super funny. They're called the Two Doom Men. And my cousin's like, oh my God, I listened to them. That's my cousin. So, Carol Ann, thank you for being a fan. And who's the other dude from Instagram? Simplify?
Six Simper.
Six Simper, you're a true fan. I've seen you like everything. You send us great messages. We love you. Amy, thank you for always listening. You've been there for a long time now. We appreciate the fans. Please like, share, and subscribe. We couldn't be any happier with the progress. We've done some amazing things in 50 episodes, and we want to just keep going with it. So with that being said, Doom Nation, thank you for being here for 50 weeks on end, listening to our reviews and bullshit. You can find us everywhere. Trump is banned. Instagram and Gab is at 2DoomMen_podcast. Facebook and Twitter is at 2DoomMen. And you can listen to us where all major podcasts are listened to. Say your piece. Say goodbye for episode 50, man.
Goodbye for episode 50, man. Danny?
Adios, guys. Much love. Love you, 2 Doom Nation.